Hi, it's Paula from Paula Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. Today another magic number, but we will also use some larger pieces of the background fabric. This one is 8.5-inch square, so we'll need one of those for each block. And I will be doing a little bit a remake of the card trick block. I'm using the easy method of putting it together. No half square triangles, just our pieces from the magic number trays, which is 2.5-inch squares and 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles in the same color. So we need like 4 of those pairs. Then I need 4 2.5-inch squares of the background. As you can see, I didn't choose exactly the same fabric. I'm working with my scraps. If you have the same fabric you can cut from, that's great. If not, just use what you've got, it will work well as well. But we'll add a little bit of more detail to that block just to make it a little bit different. And for that I've pulled out from my magic tray, from the solids, 4 squares. As you can see, each of them is different color. And we use those kind of in the later stage of this project. So first we want to set up our fabric, so let's just do our 4 patch. So just play with the colors so they kind of look nicely to the eye. Here we go. I think I will go with that one. So then I want to add my rectangles, so this will go on top of my blue square, this one go on top of my yellow square, this one will go with my green, and this one will go with my red. So that's how the setup needs to look like. I'm going like in the same direction from the square. As you can see here it looks like letter L, and just that L is all turned around. Then I will add my background fabric, but I don't want that darker right side of the fabric, and I will use my wrong side as a right side in this project. That will blend better with my white fabric I will later use. So first I want to do is quick chain piece of my initial 4 patch here from those 2.5-inch squares, and then when I put it back it's just again 9 patch to put together, which is fairly easy and quick project kind of at this stage to do. So let's get it sewing. I'm finding it the easiest to sew blocks like this to use a chain piecing method, so you kind of want to work out how to do it so it's the easiest way. I did write an article about taking chain piecing to the next level, how to work with the shapes which are not the same size, like this ones are the same size, so obviously we can chain piece all of that, make a square here, but then this also can be all chain pieced. So if you want to kind of improve your techniques around that, I will link that article in the description below. So like mentioned, the best way to start from is going to be doing a 4 patch from those blocks here. Just nesting that seam in the middle here. So you can take it to the iron board to make it nice and flat, or you can finger press. You can see even here this one came open, but I will leave it as that as well, I don't mind. So I will put back that square in here, and now I've got a 9 patch to sew together. So I'll just start from those first 2 pieces here, and I will chain piece all that block again in kind of one session. Just turn it around and I'm start stitching from the right hand side. Here again I will be nesting some elements, but with this first stitching I don't have to worry which way they're going yet, so we'll just place them any way they want. I usually go with what fabric kind of lays flattest. Now when I'm gonna put this stitch part on top of my last column, it's when I'm gonna look which way I need to nest. So this one went up, this went down, and I will put the seams at the bottom opposite direction. Here we go. We've got our first part of the block ready. It would be nice to take it now to iron board to make it nice and flat, but as I'm at the iron board I will take all my solid squares, and what I want to do is iron that piece into half and just fold those arms inside, and also iron those ones like this, so they're all nice and flat, ready to be worked on. So nothing complicated here. Again, you're just folding fabric into half, wrong sides together. You can also fold it again into half and iron to make that kind of middle crease. So that will help you when you're folding these sides to make sure they are aligned nice in the middle. And I will just iron them all, and they will be ready to for the next step of this block. Okay, I've got my block from the ironing board. Just to tidy up all of those loose threads here, and I've got my 4.5-inch squares that have been folded into half and then arms put in together, and then I've used just iron to kind of keep it in place. So how I want to place them is I will put that fold face down, and I will just put it on that 4.5-inch section of the block. Color wise, you just obviously want a little bit of contrast, but not necessarily too much, because they will not lie down on that section. They will lie down on the kind of the frame we'll be creating in a minute, so no panic there. So like I said, that fold is going down towards the rectangle. You could possibly not do the next step I will be doing now, however I'm finding it useful to do it, because it just make it easier with the block when we're sewing the next element to it. So what I want to do is basically baste those triangles. Just use a basting stitch which will be more than your normal length stitch. I usually go with like 3.5 or something like that. It's just to hold it in place instead of using the pins. So just go around and stitch it. One thing to remember here is when you folded your fabric, you just make sure that it's kind of all matched up here together, because if it's a little bit too kind of bent here, you may not catch it later in the seam. So just make sure that all of it is nicely aligned. The other thing you can do is just lower it down a little bit on that seam, so it's not aligned with the block, it's slightly lower the triangle, so you know whatever happens it's gonna be stitched. So we are not stitching 1/4 inch here, we're just stitching the 8 or so from the this block edge, not the triangle, just to hold it in place so it doesn't move when we'll be doing the next step. So that's one. Just move the pin, lower it down a little bit. Finish stitching those triangles, just open it up and see if you cut all of the parts of those arms as well as the bottom, because at this stage you can quickly fix it by unpicking and stitching again, but once we add the frame that's gonna be more difficult. So I'm just slightly pulling it here just to see that every layer of the triangle is stitched on, and it was, so that's great. So now I need my background fabric, which is 8.5 inch, because my block here should be 8.5 inch. I will just put it wrong sides together, and I will stitch all around, and creating easy square in the square method of making the frame for our block. So as you can see here, I'm not sure you can see very well, but my block I did, this one, is slightly smaller than my frame. Obviously my seams were not exactly 1/4 inch, something kind of shrunk a little bit, and that's fine. So what you want to trace around is actual your block, not the background, because we need to make sure that when we're stitching here on those layers it all nicely fit in. So I'm not going to kind of trim that background square. I'm just put my block on top so I can see where the edges are, and I will go around it with the 1/4 inch now. So here my triangle sticking out a little bit, so just make sure you go with, again, with the edge of that initial block rather than your triangle. Don't worry if it's not perfect, because we are going to be squaring up this block. So if something doesn't match exactly still at this point, we can still fix it in that last trimming. So this is very, very forgiving block if you just start in your quilting journey. I don't know if you can see it very well, but I'm gonna have here a little bit of problem where something was not aligned well, and I'm gonna have a tuck here, but that's fine because this section here is gonna be trimmed off later as well. So that's what you have here on the last corner. Just go through it and don't worry about it. We will be trimming it off. So you can see there's a bit of tuck here, but we'll fix it in a minute with our last trimming. So I'm just trying to get rid of all of those extra threads here. Just clean up your block as you go, then you won't have issue kind of later with lots of threads flying around. I'm just gonna turn it around and I'm gonna draw a lines across that fabric here on diagonal from seam to seam corner, and the other side as well. You can use whatever you've got around you to mark it, because we are going to be cutting on that line. So I'm just pulling the layers of the fabric. Obviously I don't want to cut through my back fabric here. I just want to cut that solid here at the top. I'm just cutting on the line, and I will open up this block on the line. Just make sure you get to the very corner here, so there is no pucker inside there. And the last one. And pretty much the block is ready. The only thing we need to do is take it to the iron board, iron it, and then square it up. So as I said, this corner where the tuck is, I will chop it off in a minute, so I'm not worried about it. When you're ironing, you want to iron so your triangles, the one you've added, are to the outside. And again, don't worry what happens here in this corner when you're ironing, because that will be cut out. So you just want to open it up, and you want to nicely iron it from the top first. Don't stretch the fabric, because this one is on the bias, so you can stretch it a bit. You may like to also use a little bit of starch at this stage, so that will kind of stabilize this fabric, and we'll be ready to trim it in a minute. Okay, so this is an iron block. Let me show you from the back. As you can see, kind of I've got sticking out here corners. I'm not worried about those, they will be trimmed off. And this is what the block looks at the front. So the size I will be trimming it off is 10.5 inches. If you've got 10.5 inch ruler, that's great, because you can just place it on and kind of in the middle. We are making Wonky magic card trick block, so I wouldn't worry about it making it, you know, perfect. So on bigger ruler, I kind of made lines on my ruler with the masking tape where my 10.5 inch is, so I can kind of narrow down how I'm looking at this block to square it up. So I am cutting off about 1/4 inch from those corners here, from what I can see. So that's what I will go with. About 1/4 inch of it is out of the picture, so anything what was happening there, any puckers kind of will be trimmed off, and the block will look perfect. And I did use a starch when I was ironing it, so it's nice and sturdy to work with. So one side, and then obviously when I'm putting other side, I just make sure I go with the 10.5 inch lines on my ruler exactly now. and I will trim it off. Before I show you my finished project, just a quick reminder where you can find me and how you can support my work. You can subscribe to my website to be notified when new tutorials, products or patterns are released. You can find me on my Facebook page, Pola Photo, or you can join my group page, Pola Quilting with Friends, where we all share work made inspired by my tutorials and answer any questions you may have. There is Instagram account called Pola Quilting, and if you like to share something you made based on my tutorials, please tag me using hashtag Pola Quilting with Friends. To support my work, please like, comment and share when you see my posts or tutorials. Let your quilting friends know about this channel and invite them to the group and subscribe to my channel. If you like to contribute extra, you can use super thanks on YouTube or buying me virtual tea, coffee or lunch available on my page. All links are in the description below. I would like to thank you all for all the support so far and letting me grow in what I do. Just to let you know, there is now another incentive to join my newsletter. So back in November, as you remember, I was one of the presenters on the Scrappy Summit, which was a great success. A lot of people happy with joining us. So I decided to make my own presentation available to those who join my newsletter. So once you confirm your subscription, you will receive document with a link to my presentation. Be sure to save the document for future reference. And if you already joined my newsletter, a link to the presentation will be included in the next few newsletters, so you will have access to it as well. So this is what the finished block look like. I've made 2 of those so far, and I will pop them on the design board and we'll see what we can do out of it. Quilting wise, that is gonna be very easy because when I put the blocks together, I will just go on diagonal here to quilt this way and then quilt this way through all the blocks how I lay them out. So you've got your all lines, quilting lines here, and probably won't be going with like stretch stitching. I'll probably use a little bit of wonky line here as well, just to not make my quilting more complicated. Just make it easy, nice wavy line either on the walking foot, or you may have something on your machine which will kind of replicate that kind of little bit snaky movement, and just go both direction on this block on whole of the quilt. So also you don't obviously need to add those elements into your block. You can do it without it, but just use that easy square in the square method to put it on diagonal. So let's pop them on the design board and we can see what we can build out of those blocks. And here's a small selection of how you can lay down the blocks. I think I like them just on their own the best, but sashing also could be very interesting depending how you mix them up. If you have just few and not much time to finish, then you can obviously just pop some solids in between them, and that will give you a nice quick quilt. Please let me know in the comments below which option you like the best. Thank you very much for watching me today. Kindly share tutorial in this channel with your quilting friends. Please subscribe if you haven't done so to not miss any future scrappy tutorials, and see you hopefully next time. Happy sewing everyone!